Welcome to Into the Words, a podcast from the Highlights Foundation Retreat Center. Today in the lodge is our dear friend Harold Underdown. Welcome, Harold.
Hey, George.
Thanks for being here with us. It's a snowy January day, and you are here talking about the crash course, which you've been thinking about and are ready to release as online. So first, tell me what the course is really called.
We call it the Crash Course in Everything You Need to Know About Children's Book Publishing, which is a long phrase and a little awkward, but it really gets at the basic idea that there actually is insider knowledge that writers need to know when they're getting started or even when they're a little further along. I've been thinking about that, and there's some really just a whole body of that. And to give a few examples, one of the things we talk about is the importance of reading current books when you're writing, not just to, find out what the trends are or something like that, but the practice of reading current books can gradually seep into your writing and kind of inform it in ways that you may not even realize. Or to give another example, the importance of critique groups, not only as a way of getting feedback, but also as a way of getting support and helping you in your journey as a writer. And finally, looking at a point when you're a little farther along, when you get offered a contract by a publisher, it's important to read that contract and ask questions about it, and not just rely upon the knowledge and skills of your agent or the goodwill of your publisher. You really want to know what you're signing when you sign that.
And so talk a little bit about how the course is structured. I think we were talking yesterday, there are 7 or 8 or 9 modules.
Right. There's a number of different segments that we've broken it up into, and we actually start out with a guide to the different kinds of children's books, because our field is a little more complicated than a lot of people realize when they're getting into it, and you need to know that before you get too far. We offer some writing exercises and resources to help you get started writing, and what to do to get feedback to help you improve your writing. And we also look at the whole process, from the submissions process, how you get your manuscript out there, how you get it polished and getting it out there, and then basic stuff about finding an agent, how you research publishers, what happens when you're offered a contract, and the whole publishing process, from the point at which you're just starting working on a manuscript with an editor to when your book gets out there and it's in the market. And that, there's a lot of basic information there, but we've worked very hard to find a way to put it together, and I think we've succeeded.
I think what's so tricky about the publishing world is for people that are just getting started, who maybe have done some writing, who have an idea for a story or a book, they think it's really easy and quick to go from, I have this great idea, I've written a story, now I'm ready to publish. And I think what you're doing in your course is kind of pulling that apart to show the reality of what it really means to write for children, and the amount of the different pieces of the pie to get someone there.
That's right. And part of the thing that's difficult about it is there is all that information that you need to know, and you can spend years picking that up piecemeal. And what we're trying to do is actually make that easier. So even though, yes, it's difficult to go through the whole process and get to that point when you're ready and you're getting your manuscript out and you're getting the good feedback, we're making it easier to at least know what you need to do to get to that point.
Yeah, so for example, let's say I've just come up with an idea for a picture book, and I've written a picture book. I have this great idea that I've written down. I have one draft. what would you say to me in thinking about taking this course?
Okay, I would say to you that's great. You're at the point where you need to be, and what you don't want to do is jump ahead of yourself and think, oh, okay, all I need to do is find the names of some agents and send it right out to them. Because the reality is that almost everybody has to spend some time getting feedback, revising their manuscript, polishing their manuscript. It can take a surprising number of drafts that you go through before it's really ready. And that's one of those basic things that, again, you just have to learn. There's a process you have to go through. And if you try to short circuit it, it won't do you any good.
And then I have a manuscript that I've shared in my critique group. I've gone through revisions. Now I'm ready. But wait, now what?
Well, you have to do your research. You can't just get some names from friends or pull some information out of a market guide. You really want to learn about who you're sending things out to, whether it's an agent or a publisher, why you might go to an agent versus a publisher. There's a lot you need to find out.
And I believe one of the sessions, or one of the resources at least, is even a specific session on how to write a query letter, so that once you've identified who you're sending to, you have some idea of
That's
how
right.
to form that letter.
That's right. There's a real art to writing a query letter, and yet there's also things you can learn very specifically about that to send out a better query letter that's more likely to get a result.
So you've used the term serious beginner, but talk a little bit about who this course is for.
Okay. So we use the term serious beginner talking about the people that we're speaking to, because there's someone who's not published. They're maybe only just getting started with writing a manuscript, but they're committed to learning what they need to learn. They're not just taking this as something that they're spending a little bit of time every few weeks they're writing. No, they're someone who wants to learn what the process is. They want to learn what the magazines are that you need to read, the review magazines, the magazines that tell you about what's going on in publishing, just to give one example.
Sure. You talked about the serious beginner who should take this course, but you've also talked about somebody who kind of wants that holistic view of what the publishing process is about.
That's right. I've run into a number of people when I go to conferences or in groups on Facebook who've been writing for a few years and who've really got beyond the serious beginner point, but they feel they still haven't put everything together. They've learned bits and pieces here and there, and that's a lot of what can happen when you're grabbing information online. You go to one conference, you get some information from one particular editor or an agent who's talking about their job, but you don't know how the whole thing fits together. And as far as I know, the crash course is really the only place that really offers you that perspective that takes you from start to finish and shows how the whole thing works.
Well, Harold, you've actually written the book, The Complete Idiot's Guide to the Publishing Children's Books. So I can't think of anyone more qualified to teach this course for us. Just back up a little bit. I know, tell us, you've been with the Highlights Foundation a number of times teaching some courses. Give us a little history lesson.
Right. So originally, I actually started working with the Highlights Foundation back before you were on a campus near Honesdale, Pennsylvania. I came to the Chautauqua summer weekly, I don't know what to call it, a retreat.
Yeah, sure.
I came to that a few times to talk about publishing and different aspects of that process. And from that, I got involved in what started out as a workshop at the Highlights Foundation that Clay Winters had put together. That was the original crash course. And gradually I got more involved in that. And we've built up a curriculum now that we want to offer online because we want to reach more people with it.
Yeah, I think that's great. We've been doing this crash course here at the Highlights Foundation for many years, and now to be able to see it coming online and to look at what the opportunities are there, I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, I am too.
Well, Harold, thank you for joining me today on Into the Words, a podcast from the Highlights Foundation Retreat Center. I know we had you and Eileen Robinson on the podcast talking about revision when you were here this summer for the revision retreat. Tell me what else you're working on now. I know you and Eileen have a couple of courses you're doing.
That's right. We're working on a couple different things right now. Starting in a couple of weeks, actually, is what we're calling the Graduate Workshop, which is essentially a high-level online critique group that's application only. We're bringing people into a group. We've got a picture book group, a novel group, and a group that we're calling mixed narratives, which is really any kind of narrative. We're hoping for a variety of people in that one, while the other two are more focused. And what we'll be doing in that one is basically running an online group with experienced people giving each other feedback and also benefiting from our feedback about their manuscripts. And in addition to that, we're also working on a new rendition of our revision retreat that we've been giving at Highlights now for several years. This year, we're moving some of our curriculum to be available online to our students before the retreat. And our goal with that is to get them up to speed on the tools that in the past we've taught at the retreat. Now they'll have them before the retreat, and we'll be able to spend more time at the retreat just working on the manuscripts and having one-on-one time and model critique groups and that kind of thing.
So that'll be with some online, here are some tools for revision people can access, get a feel for those tools, and then when they come for the retreat, they can actually put those tools to work on their manuscript.
That's right.
Awesome.
Yes.
Well, Harold, thank you for joining us. I know we'll see you around campus and online as well. Where can people find you or the course you were talking about that you're doing with Eileen Robinson?
Well, you can find us at the Kids Book Revisions website. Just Google that phrase, Kids Book Revisions. And I also have a personal website called The Purple Crayon, where I present information about children's book publishing.
Fantastic. Thanks for being with us today.
Thank you, George.